done without any tangible results.
Thank you, Dr. Malki. Our next speaker is Ambassador Gina Abercrombie, and Gina is the president of the Mideast Policy Council, and until recently, she knows the issues from the American side as a diplomat. And from my experience, American diplomats, when they are former, they speak freely. So we're looking forward to hear
Hint,
from you
hint,
now.
hint. Thank you. I'm going to start with the United States, move to the international community, and close on the United States. And the first thing I want to say as an American diplomat, as an American, as a foreign policy practitioner, that there are no magic bullets here. There's no one solution, and there's no one power. I know that many are disappointed and confused by the United States' lack of connection between what our leadership said and what was accomplished. We had President Biden saying repeatedly that he wanted a ceasefire, and yet over a year has not yet been able to achieve it in the Gaza Strip. Many of you understand some of the domestic pressures that are on any U.S. leader when it comes to Israel and Palestine. But the reality is that these were very personal feelings from President Biden as well. So not that he wasn't getting advice from others about different ways of doing things, but his conviction led America as our leader to where we are today. But Israel doesn't live in Canada and it doesn't live in Mexico. It lives in this region. And the United States is not the only voice. The United States is not the only country with leverage, either country or coalition. I point out, no one has broken diplomatic relations with Israel over 40,000 Palestinians being killed. No one has. There has been support, and I'm not saying that anyone should have, but I'm pointing out that other nations have leverage too. Breaking diplomatic relations is a big step, a huge step in diplomacy. Some have withdrawn ambassadors, but there are different levers of influence and ways to shape opinion even in Israel, because that's the neighborhood they live in, and they want things from their neighbors. There are agreement, there is cooperation. Israel is also paying a cost, nowhere near what Gazans in particular have paid, but economically, their economy is suffering greatly. Even those who have established diplomatic relations with Israel, either economic deals, business deals, have either been suspended, ended, or very quietly and made much smaller. The fact that they want you all to welcome them into the neighborhood, and that is at the very least extraordinarily difficult now and into the future for a while, because we see what has happened in the Gaza Strip. So keep in mind there are costs there. They have reputational harms with their leaders being having warrants out for their arrest. It is particularly galling for Israelis to have faced charges of genocide. I do not personally use that word. It is a legal term with specific things that fulfill that definition. I'm not a lawyer, so I can't say, but we do see the death and destruction in the Gaza Strip. I will say apartheid state. I will say food as a weapon of war, which is against international humanitarian law. I will say violations of the law of armed conflict. All of those things I'm comfortable saying because I know about them. Genocide, I have to pause on. So the international community has a role to play, and I would argue in some ways with the warrants, with the case brought with regard to genocide, with most of the EU countries saying that they're going to respect the ICC warrants. We'll see if they do. We see France's recent statement there, but that's a point for discussion. And then I want to come back to the United States. As I said, I believe President Biden worked from personal conviction as well as what he believes is in the United States' interest, in spite of many arguing for a different conclusion as to how the United States best supports Israel. And many believe that as the older, the big brother, the true friend.
One more minute, Gina.
Okay, it is incumbent upon the United States to point out where Israel is in the wrong and doing harm to itself. But there is a new administration coming and a president who thinks very differently about these issues. And so we can talk about that, and I'm done.
Thank you, Gina. Before I ask Ramadan to give us his, share with us his views, I have a quick question for you. President Biden, from day one, he was keen into leading through coalition. He loves those coalition. Obviously, it failed in the Middle East. Do you think the style of President Trump, arm twisting, deal making, sitting on the table, would stand a better chance in achieving something in the Middle East?
In some ways, I believe it will. And we like coalitions. We don't like to be alone. We like to have everybody with us. So it's not just President Biden on that one. But remember, you know, it was so painful because he said from the very beginning to the Israelis, don't make our mistakes. But he didn't take the hard steps to hold them to that, unfortunately. He had the right thought, but he didn't hold them to it.
Thank you, Gina. Dr. Ramadan.